Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're skipping the usual pleasantries because we're jumping straight into the automatic machinery that literally keeps you alive, second by second. We're talking about the hidden biological wiring that regulates your body entirely behind the scenes.
So let's just dive right into this with a really high-stakes scenario. Picture this. You're out for a hike in the woods, you turn a corner, and bam, a grizzly bear is charging right at you. What actually happens inside your body in that exact fraction of a second? Well, before you even have the time to form a cohesive thought, your body undergoes these massive, completely involuntary physical reactions just to ensure you survive. Your heart instantly pounds against your ribs, your pupils blow wide open, and your airways expand.
To understand how this works, we need to look at how your nervous system divides up the labor. On one side, you have the somatic system. That's your voluntary control. It's the conscious command your brain sends straight to your skeletal muscles, telling your legs to turn around and run away. But on the other side, we have the autonomic system. This is the unconscious part. It's doing all the heavy, involuntary lifting to prep your body for survival, and it does it without a single conscious thought from you.
All right, Section 1, meet your nervous system, specifically the efferent division. You can think of the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, as your body's ultimate backstage crew. As part of the efferent division, it carries signals away from your brain and spinal cord out to your peripheral tissues. It regulates your everyday vital functions without the conscious participation of your mind. You might also hear it referred to as the vegetative or visceral nervous system. It's constantly controlling your smooth muscle, your cardiac output, your blood flow, your digestion, all entirely behind the scenes so you can focus on, well, just living. Moving on to Section 2, the sympathetic system, better known as fight or flight. So applying this back to our bear attack, when that grizzly charges, your sympathetic nervous system kicks into absolute overdrive to mobilize your body's energy stores. Just look at these immediate reactions. Your bronchioles dilate, expanding your airways so you can gorge your skeletal muscles on oxygen. Your heart rate aggressively spikes to pump all that oxygenated blood. Your pupils dilate to let in more light so you can clearly see the threat. And interestingly, your digestion rapidly drops off because honestly, processing your breakfast is just not a priority when you might be someone else's lunch.
Here's the really wild part. This system tends to fire off all at once. It functions as a diffuse, complete unit. And this massive, body-wide alarm response is aided by a huge chemical boost. The sympathetic system actually stimulates your adrenal medulla to release epinephrine, adrenaline, directly into your blood. That gives you this ultimate systemic surge of survival power.
Section 3, the parasympathetic system, or rest and digest.
Okay, let's take a collective breath. The bear is gone. You ran, you hid, and you survived. Now, the parasympathetic system acts as your body's brakes. Its primary job is to restore homeostasis, bringing you back to normal. Your pupils constrict back down, your heart rate drops, your bronchioles constrict, and digestion fires right back up. But unlike that sympathetic alarm system that fires everywhere all at once, the parasympathetic system works uniquely on individual organs. I mean, think about it. If your rest and digest system fired all at once, you'd experience a massive, uncontrolled elimination of waste, which is obviously highly undesirable. So instead, it carefully and discreetly regulates specific organs to rest, digest, and recover.
Check out this truly fascinating statistic about how that recovery happens. 90%. A single nerve, the vagus nerve, accounts for a massive 90% of the preganglionic parasympathetic fibers in your entire body. This one incredibly important nerve branches out to innervate almost all the organs in your chest and abdomen, acting as the primary superhighway for your body's calming signals.
All right, let's look at Section 4, the body's hidden wiring.
So how is this dynamic tug-of-war actually wired up in your body? Well, it's not just one long, unbroken cable. In the autonomic nervous system, efferent signals traveling from your brain to your organs travel via two neurons, the preganglionic neuron and the postganglionic neuron. They essentially hand off their electrical baton at a crucial relay station called a ganglion. A ganglion is basically just a cluster of nerve cell bodies in the peripheral nervous system where that first nerve synapses or connects with the second one.
And this physical setup brilliantly explains how they behave so differently. Take the sympathetic wiring. It has short first neurons and long second neurons that are highly branched. That structural branching is exactly why it can trigger a system-wide alarm. One signal spreads to many organs instantly.
But in contrast, the parasympathetic wiring features really long first neurons that reach almost all the way to the target organ, meeting ganglia that are super close by. This creates a very discrete one-to-one connection for precise, targeted control.
These two opposing wiring systems are locked in a constant, invisible dance, fine-tuning your internal state based on sensory feedback to create what we call reflex arcs. Let's walk through a quick micro-narrative of how this works. Imagine your blood pressure suddenly drops. Instantly, pressure-sensitive neurons in your heart and blood vessels, called baroreceptors, notice the lack of stretch. They send fewer impulses up to your brain. Your brain immediately reads this signal, cranks up the sympathetic output, and dials back the parasympathetic brakes. The result? Your heart rate and blood pressure rise, fixing the problem before you even felt dizzy.
Section 5. Chemical messengers and receptors. Let's zoom way in now, from physical wires down to microscopic chemistry. When an electrical signal, an action potential, reaches the very end of a nerve, it hits a gap. It can't just jump across, it has to convert into a chemical messenger. Synaptic vesicles inside the nerve fuse to the membrane and dump chemical neurotransmitters into the gap, or the synapse. These chemicals rapidly diffuse across that space and bind to highly specific receptors on the target cell. They're essentially acting as keys to unlock the next reaction. Now, there are two main chemical languages spoken in the autonomic nervous system. First, we have cholinergic neurons, which use acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is the primary language across all autonomic ganglia, and it's the main transmitter for the parasympathetic system's target organs. Then, we have adrenergic neurons, which use norepinephrine or epinephrine. That's the main chemical language spoken by the sympathetic system when it communicates directly with its target organs to kick off that fight-or-flight response.
But you know, a key is completely useless without a lock, right? In this case, the locks are the receptors on the cells. Some of these are what we call ionotropic receptors. These are directly linked to ion channels in the cell membrane. Because there's no middleman involved, when a neurotransmitter binds to an ionotropic receptor, it opens the channel in mere fractions of a millisecond. A great example of this incredible speed is the nicotinic receptor waiting for acetylcholine right at your skeletal muscles. On the flip side, we have metametropic receptors. These guys are a bit different. They aren't directly coupled to ion channels. Instead, when a neurotransmitter binds here, it activates a complex second messenger relay system inside the cell, often using what's called a G protein. This kicks off a whole cascade of chemical reactions to translate the signal. Both the muscarinic receptors of the parasympathetic system and the adrenergic receptors of the sympathetic system use this highly effective second messenger approach.
So what does all this microscopic chemistry actually mean for you in real life? Let's say a drug enters your system and acts as an antagonist, physically blocking those cholinergic receptors. If you chemically inhibit your parasympathetic rest and digest system, you essentially cut the brakes. So what happens? Your body defaults straight into a stress-like state. Your heart starts racing, your pupils dilate, your mouth goes completely dry, and it's all simply because the sympathetic system is suddenly left completely unopposed. It's just an absolute wonder of biological engineering, isn't it? You've got millions of electrical signals constantly racing through a beautifully structured, highly branched, dual wiring system, translating into chemical keys that lock and unlock your survival and recovery mechanisms, all without a single conscious thought from you. So, as we wrap up this explainer, it leaves you wondering, if all of this is happening right now just to keep your blood pressure stable and your pupils sized correctly, what other hidden biological programs are silently running your life at this very moment? Thank you so much for exploring the autonomic nervous system with me today, and keep questioning the incredible machinery inside you.